right? Yes, we started Unit 9B on Monday. Well, on Monday, many of your classmates joined the class to tell me very kindly that the core plan común, is on a strike. So they decided to support the strike, and I told them that, well, the teaching part of the university never stops unless the escuela says something. So I did the class anyway because one student stayed, and the idea is that once the strike finishes, is over, we're going to try, I'm going to try to make my best to have a revision class all together. Yeah, but the idea is that we start looking at Unit 9B because Unit 9B is really important. Unit 9B talks about, well, lots of vocabulary, which is quite useful, but also we refresh in a way our memories on the use of the present perfect simple and the past simple. So it's really, really important because then in the following levels, we never see this again. Yeah. I mean, you see it, but with other comparisons, okay? So on Monday, we started this unit, yeah? And the topic of conversation is fears and phobias. Yeah, we're going to talk about the differences. What are you afraid of? What is, I don't know, a phobia, etc. Okay, yeah, let me see if I'm right, because sometimes I say things that are not true. Not because I want to lie. Yeah, I'm okay, yeah. Yes, fears and phobias, pages 70 and 71. Yeah. So one of the objectives of the unit is to be able, by the end of the unit, to be able to talk about what you are afraid of, and if you know anyone or if you suffer from a phobia. We're going to learn different types of phobias. Do you know any type of phobia? Any phobia you know?
Claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia, very good. And the names come from the Greek, so they are very similar in Spanish and in English, you see. So you have claustrophobia, agoraphobia, acrophobia, musophobia. What else?
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia. Yes, very good. Very, very, very similar. And on Monday, we talked about the differences. So what is the difference between a fear and a phobia? You see? So what makes you like being the victim of a phobia compared to only being afraid of something? Because there is a difference, right? Another objective is to refresh, you see, our knowledge on how to express ideas that started at an indefinite time in the past, and how these events, yeah, have a relevance in our present. And finally, we're going to learn how to use the present perfect with for and since, yeah, in written and spoken form. Yeah, so those were the three objectives. With Enzo, we talked, yeah, you're going to see the class. So we mainly talked about like, what are you afraid of? What are you frightened of, etc. Yeah. And what are the most common things or situations that make people scared? Matthias, in your opinion, what situations or what things make people scared in general?
The horror movies.
Well, yes, horror movies. Yeah, horror movies, but situations that you can imagine. For example, in your case, are you afraid of anything, like in particular?
I think the loud sounds.
Loud sounds.
Yeah, it makes me afraid.
Such as thunder?
No, it's like how do you say agudo?
Acute?
Acute sound.
Acute sounds. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, but it makes me nervous. I think it's really strange.
So acute sounds such as the ones you hear when you are, for example, I don't know, I have a big speaker, yeah, because I play the guitar, and you are tuning, yeah, the speaker with the guitar, and sometimes this very loud. Yeah. So you don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And do you
It
know why?
doesn't like me. Maybe, me, I don't know why.
It's weird. First time I hear something like that. Okay, right. Interesting. Alexander, and what about you? Are you afraid of anything in particular?
Mm, when I was a child, maybe the darkness,
Yeah.
but now I don't know. Maybe a little bit scared about the spider. So, but you know.
Okay, good. All right. But interesting. Yeah, when we were children, which children in general tend to be afraid of different things, right? Being afraid of the dark is one of them. Yeah, being afraid of animals. Sometimes some children are very scared of dogs, for example. See, because of course, for a child who is 2 years old, a dog like a Labrador is like a monster. You see, it's like a bear. You see, so it's, I mean, it figures. One tiny detail that we discussed last class is how can you express like what you or what somebody else is afraid of. So tiny detail, Alexander, people are afraid of, or people are frightened of things, not about, but of. The preposition that we use is of. To be afraid of, to be frightened of, to be scared of. Yeah, so that is important.
Okay, right.
Last class, we also watched a video, yeah, in which the guy, Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy is the one who presents this video, talks, yeah, very briefly about the differences between a fear and a phobia. So what is a phobia? In your opinion, Matthias, what is the difference between I am afraid of spiders and I have a phobia of spiders?
I think when you have a phobia, you don't have any control of the situation or what are you living in that moment.
Exactly. Yes.
And a fear
Alexander?
is more
I'm sorry.
control.
Uh-huh.
You have more control about the situation and you
Consciousness
can,
as well.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's in my opinion.
They're very good. Yes. Alexander, would you like to add anything else?
I agree with that,
Yeah.
and because you don't have a control about your emotion with
Exactly.
the phobia, so I agree.
So if you don't have control over your emotions, it means that when you face this phobia, you are unable to continue with your normal life. Because if I have a phobia, for example, of open spaces, agoraphobia, yeah, that is the phobia of open spaces, then I cannot be like a normal person because I can't go out, I can't be in a field alone. You see, so that is the difference. Very good. Yeah. I mean, when you are afraid of something, well, you can control it. You say, oh my God, I can't stand spiders, but you don't faint, for example, or you don't cry. But when you have a phobia, I mean, your body changes, your heartbeat goes faster. Some people start sweating, you see, like sweating, trembling, etc. Very good. If you have time, yeah, to watch the class, watch the video, yeah, because it's a very good video. I really like it. And this guy mentions other types of phobias. For example, musophobia. Musophobia is being really, really scared, terrified of mice. You see, so being afraid of mice has a name, musophobia. Yeah, there is another type of phobia of that is called trypophobia. Do you know it?
And the holes?
Exactly. Yeah, being afraid of like little patterns of holes. Yeah, and I don't remember if we did this. Yes, we did this as well. We did the activity on page 70. Yeah, that is called Phobias and Words Related to Fear. I'm going to show you the activity very quickly, okay, so that you know what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second. If you have the book, go to page 70 in the book, please. Here it is. Yeah, we, well, this is the unit, and we read, we read this, these articles. Now, these are like short stories of famous people who suffer from different phobias. We have acrophobia, remember, open spaces? Acrophobia is afraid of heights, places that are very high, Agora, open spaces. Glossophobia is when you have a fear of speaking in public, Claustrophobia, closed spaces, and arachnophobia, well, you know, being afraid of spiders. So we read this, and I would like to mention, some words that we discussed, because these are words that are useful and people usually make mistakes using them. One of these words is height. Can you see it? Exercise D. Sander Matthias,
Yeah.
Height, the pronunciation, first of all, is height. Height is a noun. So you say, for example, you have 3 options. I am afraid of heights. I suffer from acrophobia, or I am afraid of high places. You see? So height is a something, it's a noun, and high is an adjective. High is an adjective, and height is a something, it's a noun. Similar, but you use them differently because they are different parts of the speech. Okay? So that is something important.
And what is the pronunciation?
Height.
Height
Is the noun. No, high. The G is not pronounced. High and height, like high. The adjective is like when you say hello, hi, the same. And the other one is height with a T in the end. And the other word is a ski lift. A ski lift is this means of transport that you usually see in the mountains when you go skiing, you see? And there is like an object, a means of transport that takes you from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. That is called a ski lift. Do you understand what I mean? Do you know what I mean or not? Not really. You look a little bit lost. Wait. Let me show you. An image is much better than an explanation. A ski lift. The important thing is the pronunciation. It's a ski lift. This is a ski lift. You see? Yeah. So back to the book. So we talked about this, we read this, and we matched the different situations, the different stories with the corresponding phobia. So we found out, for example, that Rupert Grint, who is the actor who plays Ron Weasley in Harry Potter. Have you ever seen Harry Potter? Yeah. Okay. Ron. The actor suffers from a phobia of spiders. So he suffers from arachnophobia. And do you remember that there is one movie in the Harry Potter saga in which they have to fight a gigantic spider? So that scene must have been a nightmare for this poor guy. Okay. And we discussed a little bit, we talked, we looked at the presentation again, and I made some comments about, be careful, you see, because afraid, frightened, and scared are adjectives. You say, I am afraid, I am scared, I am frightened of. But fear is a noun, you see. I have a fear of heights, Very afraid, very frightened, or very scared. The top adjective, let's say that the strong adjective is terrified. You cannot say very terrified, because terrified is the strong adjective of afraid or frightened. So you say, I am really terrified, but you cannot say, I am very terrified. That's incorrect. Yeah. And you see, again, preposition of, not for, not about, not at, is of. I have a fear of, I am terrified of. And synonyms, of course, afraid, scared, and frightened are synonyms. Be careful with the pronunciation. We have an ed ending, you see? But these are adjectives, these are not verbs. I am frightened of, I am scared of, I am afraid of, you see? Of something. So now the plan for today, guys, what time is it? It's almost 12:30. We're going to do a listening activity, which is on page 70. We're going to listen to 3 people talk about their phobias. And you have to take notes and answer the following questions. The questions are, what is the person afraid of? When did the phobia start? And how does the phobia affect his or her life? I did this activity with Enzo, but I'm going to do it again with you, okay? Because it's listening, so it's really necessary, okay? Do you have a pen and paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So take notes.
4.20. 1.
Do you have any phobias?
Yes, I'm terrified of bats.
Really? How long have you had the phobia?
I've had it for about 40 years, since I was 12 years old. At my school, we had a swimming pool, and the changing rooms were in an old building near the pool. On the first day at school, our teacher told us that there were bats in there and that we shouldn't move around too much because they might start flying around and get into our hair. She also said we shouldn't turn the lights on because this would wake up the bats. We had to change as quickly and quietly as possible.
Did a bat ever fly into your hair?
No, nothing ever happened, but I was terrified just at the thought of it.
Does it affect your life at all?
Yes, I often feel very nervous or start to panic if I'm outside when it's beginning to get dark, which is when bats appear. If I'm sitting in my yard in the evening, I always have a tennis racket, so if a bat flies near me, I can protect myself. And I can't watch a TV documentary about bats, or even look at them in photos.
Okay, let's discuss, this first listening. It's a woman, Matthias, do you remember what she's afraid of?
She is afraid of bats.
Very good, bats, all right, good. When did her phobia start?
When she was in the school.
When she was in the school, very good. Alexander, do you remember how old she was?
Excuse me, teacher?
Do you remember how old she was?
4, I don't know.
12 years old.
I think that she was a little bit older. I think that she was 12 years old.
12 years old.
12 years old, okay. And how does the phobia, this phobia of bats, affect her life? Any of the two?
She can see bats. She feels nervous, and I don't remember the other.
Very good. She feels nervous when she sees bats, even in photographs. She can't look at the photograph of a bat. Alexander, anything else?
I lost a little bit in the finish of the conversation, but bats is okay.
Batman, you see? Batman?
Yeah.
Okay, so bats,
Right.
Exactly. I think that if she's outside when it gets dark, she gets a little bit nervous because she thinks that a bat might appear, of course. Perhaps she lives in a very open area where you have lots of houses and it's very quiet. In Santiago, I mean, everywhere there are bats, in old buildings, and you see bats sometimes when you live on a high floor, on a I don't know, in an apartment, and all apartments, people see bats. A little bit scary, but they are good in a way. They have a function. in nature. Bats, I think they exterminate plagues, right?
I think she pollination. I think.
Do you think so? I think that they are good for plagues. I think that they eat rats or insects or things like that. I don't really know. I'm not an expert on bats. Yeah, you can find out. Okay, second person.
2.
Do you have any phobias?
Yes, I get very bad claustrophobia.
How long have you had the phobia?
It just started one morning about 10 years ago. I was going to work on the train, and it was very crowded. I started thinking that if there were an accident, I'd never get out. I had a panic attack, and I sort of felt my heart beating very quickly. I had to get off the train.
How does your phobia affect your life?
Well, I can't travel on crowded trains. I never ever travel on the subway because my worst nightmare would be if the train stopped in the tunnel. I also try to avoid elevators. What else? Oh, yes. If I'm flying, I have to have an aisle seat. I can't sit by the window.
Okay, question
is
number
correct.
1. Okay, what is his phobia?
Claustrophobia.
Very good. Claustrophobia. When did it start?
10
10 years ago.
Very good. It started 10 years ago. And how does it affect his life?
He can travel in train or subway.
Very good.
Flights. It can sit in the windows or something like that.
The other way around. He can't sit by the window because when you are in the window seat, you are like next to another person and then you have the window. So you are, you see, in a closed space. So he has to sit on the aisle seat. I'm going to write it in the chat, aisle. Yeah. An aisle is a space that you have, for example, in supermarkets. In supermarkets, you see, you have the aisle where you can find the detergent. You have the aisle where you find the dairy products. You have the aisle where you find, I don't know, spaghetti. You see, in the classroom, do you remember? Do you remember our classroom? Yeah. In classrooms, you have aisles. You have desks, yeah, chairs, and then you have an aisle. Desks, and then you have an aisle. You see?
Yeah.
So he can't. Sorry, Alexander, I interrupted you.
He said something about the elevator, and I don't understand a little bit.
I think that he can't get on elevators when they are crowded, because that's the problem. If the elevator is empty, perhaps he has no problem, maybe, yeah. But if it's crowded with people, the same that happens in the metro. Imagine this poor guy can't live in Santiago because the metro nowadays in Santiago is crowded 24, well, no, I'm not going to say 24/7, it's like 12/7. See? So it's always crowded, it's true. Okay, third person.
3.
Do you have any phobias?
Yes, I have a pretty unusual phobia. I'm scared of clowns.
Clowns? Really? How long have you had it?
I've had it for a long time, since I was a child.
How did it start?
Well, I remember I went on a school trip to the circus when I was 6 or 7 years old, and there were clowns. I thought they were sort of stupid, but I wasn't really afraid of them. Then I went to a birthday party and there were clowns, and they were showing us how to paint our faces. And I found I didn't like being near them. At first, I just didn't like them. But over the years, my feelings have changed to fear.
Does your phobia affect your life at all?
Not really, because luckily, I don't see clowns very often.
Okay, last person. What is she afraid of?
She is afraid of clowns.
She's afraid of clowns. Very good. When did it start?
Since she was a child in the school.
When she was a child, right? When she was a child.
She was 6 years.
Very good, yeah. When she was 6 or 7 years old. Great, very good. And how does it affect her life?
it doesn't affect her life because she doesn't see very often clowns.
Clowns very often. Very good, Matthias. Yeah. Luckily, I mean, I don't like clowns either. So it's I mean, it's a good thing that I can't see clowns very often. All right. So before we move on to the next activity, which of the phobias that we have mentioned, claustrophobia, acrophobia, musophobia, arachnophobia, etc., or fears, do you think is the most irrational? The one that you think, oh my God, I mean, how can people be afraid of this?
Agoraphobia.
Acrophobia? Yeah, I mean, it's weird.
No.
Agora.
There are a phobia
Uh-huh.
of the water.
Really? There is a phobia
Yeah.
of water? And how do you
Yeah.
call that? Like aquaphobia? I don't know.
I don't know, but I know about that phobia.
I know. Why do you know, Matthias? Because you met someone who suffered?
No,
from this
I
phobia?
read once time about that phobia
Oh,
out there, and it's make me aware, but it's uncommon, I think.
yeah. So,
How do,
yeah. So, how do you wash your hands? I mean, is the person able to wash the hands, for example, to take a shower, or is like water, like going to the sea or swimming in a swimming pool?
I don't remember very well how that people lives.
Yeah, because it's like that. It's really, I mean, that really affects someone's life if you're afraid of the water. That's weird. Okay, so we're going to start with the grammar. Yeah, and this is the most important part of the unit, in my opinion, together with the vocabulary. So look at the sentences and answer the following questions. How long have you had this phobia? And the person said, I've had it, meaning I have had this phobia for about 40 years, since I was 12 years old. When did this person begin to be afraid of bats? Can you tell me? When?
In the school?
Uh-huh. But give me the exact answer, because you have it here, you see?
About 40 years
Ago.
ago.
Very good. So if I ask you, when did she begin to be afraid of bats? You say, okay, about 40 years ago. Okay, good. When? Specific, you see? When she was 12, 40 years ago, etc. So is she afraid of bats? If you read this answer and she says, I've been afraid of bats since I was 12. You understand that she is still afraid, or she isn't afraid anymore?
She's still afraid.
She is still afraid. Very good. All right. Yeah, she is. What tense do we use to talk about something that started in the past and is still true now? She
Fine.
was, or she's been, or she's had?
Me?
The second option, right? Yeah, very good. So pay attention to the difference between, okay, are you afraid of anything? Oh, yes, I am afraid of bats. Oh, how long have you been afraid of bats? Since I was 12. So you understand that I am still afraid of bats, okay? Second version is, oh, yes, I was afraid of bats, but not anymore. Am I still afraid of bats? No, because I said I was, not I have been. If you use I have been, it means that this event that happened at some point in the past, you don't know when, it still affects my life, you see? But if I say I was, you understand, okay, well, you're not afraid of bats anymore. Good for you, you see? So in this unit, we need to be aware of these differences, right? When we use the present perfect, when do I say I have been, she has been, we have been, or we have done, we have gone, we have drawn, etc., versus I was, I went, I had, I took, I didn't have, etc. Okay? And what about for and since? These two words, for and since. For and since help us, yeah, to express this period of time. If I say since I was 12, you see, it's like a point in time in the past up to now. Since I was 12, you see, since. Pronunciation, very important, since, okay? And for, you use it with periods of time. So I have two options. I can say since I was 12, or for 20 years, for example, or for 40 years, depending on my age, of course. All right. So what is the use and what is the meaning of the present perfect simple with for and since? The present perfect is often used to talk about situations that started in the past and are continuing now. We sometimes use the present perfect in a question with how long to ask about how long a present situation has continued. Let's look at the examples. How long have they had acrophobia? You see, period of time, something that started in the past, but I know that these people are still afraid of spiders. So I asked them, how long have Alexander and Matthias had acrophobia? You see, we talk about how long, usually using the words for and since to give information about the period of time. I can say, for example, they have been afraid or they have suffered from acrophobia for many years, period of time, you see. Or I can say, they have had or they have suffered from acrophobia since 2010, you see. So since, you use it with a point, with an exact point in time until now. You see, since March, since Tuesday morning, but 4 hours, for many, I don't know, for many weeks, for a long time, for 4 years, etc. Are you following me? Yep.
Yeah.
Matthias? Okay, very good. We can also use the present perfect plus since plus the past simple. Be careful. For example, I haven't seen Tanya since we graduated. Yeah, so we can also use the past simple to signal this specific event. Since we got married, since we graduated, since we went, I don't know, to the party together. You see? But it's a point in time. Alexander, yes. Tell me.
Teacher, if I had said they had agoraphobia for 6 months, is continue?
You said, I'm sorry, you said they had or they have had?
They have had.
They have had, yes, it's continuous.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that is like this. You see, it started at some point, you don't know, right? They've had acrophobia up until today.
Mm-hmm.
It's never stopped.
It's similar when I say I've been, is continue, or no?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because in the future, yeah, in level 4, you're going to see the differences between the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. Yeah. So we have like two comparisons. First of all, what is the difference between the past simple and the present perfect? Okay, past simple is like exact. Something started and finished in the past. For example, I woke up at 7. Specific event, you see? No connection with my present because now I'm teaching, yeah? Present perfect is something that started in the past, but in some way affects my present reality. So I say, for example, I've had a very painful headache the whole day. You don't know when my headache started. Yeah, perhaps it was in the morning, but you know that this thing that started still affects me in my present.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a third difference with the present perfect continuous, that you can use the continuous when you are focusing on the action in progress. For example, I can say, I've painted the room black. Oh, that's horrible. No, I've painted the room white. Yeah, white is much better. I've painted the room white. You see? versus I have been painting the room white. What's the difference? If you say I've painted the room, you understand that the action happened very recently, you see, or finished very recently, but it's done, okay? You have a result. Now the room is white. But if you say I've been painting the room, you understand that the action is still in progress. Yeah, but you're going to see that next semester in level 4. Now let's concentrate on the past and the present perfect. Okay?
Okay.
Right, good. So what is the form of the present perfect? The elements. Yeah, remember that when you learn a tense, you need to learn lots of things. You need to learn the context, the meaning, etc. And you need to learn the elements. How do you express? Yeah, how you express these meanings. So the present perfect is made with a subject in affirmative sentences, the auxiliary verbs have or has, depending on the subject. For example, Alexander has, Martin has, but you have. You see, I have. Or the negative, haven't, hasn't. You see, that is the auxiliary, you add not. And then you need the past participle. Okay? So it means that if you don't know the list of verbs, if you don't know the third column of the verb list, you need to learn them, okay? So you say, for example, I have written, not wrote, because wrote is the past simple. I have done, I have had, I have been, I have ridden, I have driven, etc. You see, so be careful, it's the past participle, okay? Some examples. Matthias, read the examples.
I've never heard of trypophobia.
I think it's trypophobia. Well, anyway, okay, we understand. Thank
I
you.
don't know.
Another one. Next one.
Peter hasn't flown a plane because he's afraid of them.
Very good. Next one.
How long have you been scared of the dark?
You see, yeah, how these elements behave in an affirmative sentence. We have a subject, we have the auxiliary, have or has, depending on the subject. Yeah, we have the participle. In this case, we use never. So if you have never, you need an affirmative sentence. You cannot have a double negative, you see. You can say, I haven't heard of trypophobia, or I've never heard of trypophobia. Peter is a he, you see. Peter hasn't, no, haven't. Peter hasn't flown. Flown is the participle of fly. Fly, flew, flown. Peter hasn't flown a plane because he's afraid of them. And how long, for example, how long have you been scared of the dark? Now, before we continue, one quick question. I've said that the present perfect focuses on things, actions, events that started in the past and have a relevance in our present, affect our present. So do you think that we can use the question when with the present perfect? Can I say, when have you seen? When have you been to the UK? Can I?
I don't know.
If it's like, I don't know, a period, do you think that I can use when with the present perfect? When have you had the trypophobia? When? It's weird. It sounds very weird because the present perfect, we understand that it's like an extension. You see, it's like something that links the past and the present. Yeah, I would say no. Yeah, so we use the past simple when you want to ask when. So you ask me, you tell me, for example, Alexander says, "Oh, you know, I've been afraid of." I don't know, I've been afraid of flying, yeah, for many years. I said, oh, really? Oh, that's weird. And Alexander, when did it start? No, when has it started? That's really weird. You see, when did it start? So when you want to, yeah, find out about the specific moment when something started, we switch to the past simple. But when you talk about the period, oh yeah, you have two options, the past simple or the present perfect, depending on what you want to say, of course. For 20 years, you see, that's one possibility with for period of time, or since 2000. I really like timelines because timelines are very clear, yeah, in terms of images. So this is a timeline that is showing the use of for and since, you see? So for example, here you have, I don't know, the past, this is your now, your possible future. Yeah, so you say, for example, Matthias has been afraid of water for many years, you see, for continuous, you see. I'm not saying when it started because I'm not interested in that. I just want to say that he's suffered from this for a long time, you see. So he suffered from, or he's been afraid of water for a long time. Or I can say Matthias has been afraid of water since he was 10. You see, since he was 10. Since point in time in the past for period of time in the past. Yeah. Is it clear the difference between since and for? Yeah.
And the name of the phobia is hydrophobia or aquaphobia.
What's the name? Aqua?
Aquaphobia or hydrophobia.
Hydro. Like, yeah, okay. Makes sense. Hydrophobia. Yeah, of course. Hydrophobia. Should have known that. Okay. I just want to, we're going to talk about this next week, I think, or the week after next. But we can also use for in the past simple, of course. Yeah, we can say, for example, I went to the same school for 10 years with the past. But of course, the period changes because when you use for in the past simple, the period started and the period finished in the past, because I'm no longer in school, so I'm working now, you see. So I was in that place for 10 years. You understand that the period is in the past. But when you use for with the present perfect, the period is open. So for example, I've been afraid of bats for many years. So you understand, okay, you're still afraid of it. So the period started, but it hasn't ended. So that's the difference between using for with the past simple and using for with the present perfect. Did you get it? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, good. So let's practice. This is the last activity we're going to do together, okay? We have to decide if these sentences are right or wrong, and we have to correct the wrong sentences. For example, number 1 says, Nina hates flying since she was a child. This is wrong, because since she was a child means that that thing is still true. So it's not past, or it's not present simple. It's present perfect. Nina has hated flying since she was a child. And that is correct. Yep. Yeah. Matthias, what about number 2? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Wrong.
Yeah, all right. I agree with you. What's the correct sentence?
How long have you had? No, have you had?
but pay attention to the bold information, the information in bold. The rest of the sentence is fine. Is how long time? The question is, how long time has your brother been an actor? Really? How long time?
No. I don't know how to.
It's very simple, Matthias. Okay, I'm going to change the question. How long have you been afraid of bats, or how long time have you been afraid of bats? Which is better? First or second?
How long?
How long, of course. Why? How long time? That is an invention. Nobody says how long time. No. It's how long. It's redundant. How long? Simply, how long? How long has your brother been an actor? Okay, Alexander, what about number 3? Correct or incorrect?
I think it's correct.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's perfectly okay. Yeah, we've been married since 2000. So are they still married? Yes, yeah. Right? They're still married. Okay, yeah. Very good. Give me 1 second.
Hola.
Oh, the teacher.
I'm sorry, I had to close the door. Okay, number 4. He's been afraid. He's been in the US for February. Matthias, what do you think?
It sounds weird.
Yeah, it sounds weird. Good. Your instinct is working. Why? Now the most important part. Why?
Because there are 4, so has been is not much with that 4.
Another question. February is a period of time or February is a point in time?
It's a point.
Okay,
It's
so
time.
since, not since, since. Yeah, that is the problem. It's since February, not for February. Now, we are in October, so if we want to use for, we need to say, okay, February, March, April, May, and you need to count the months since, so 4 or 6 months, you see? Since February. Alexander, what about number 5?
Oh. Hold on. Yeah, I think it sounds good.
How long do you have a dog? Do you?
No.
I mean, do you have a dog? It's fine. Yeah. But
How long had you? Oh.
How long have you had a dog? So the person uses the present perfect because the person knows that this person still has a dog. They say, well, how long have you had this dog? Since 2015, for example. You see? Good. Matthias, number 6.
It's correct.
He's had this job since 8 years? Is correct? Really?
No.
8 years. Another question for you, my dear Matthias. 8 years is a point in time or is a period?
It's a period.
Okay. So since 4 8 years. Okay. Alexander, number 7.
Drive. It's correct.
Learn to drive is a point in time. Yes. I learned to drive at a specific point, and since is with points in time. So it's correct. Very good. Matthias, you finished.
It's correct.
Alexander, what do you think?
Yeah.
You agree? I agree as well. Yeah, she's known Victoria since they were at school. They are still friends, you see? Very good. So that's all. Yeah, we're going to finish here. Very good. Did you get it? Did you get the difference between the past and present perfect? Okay. Next class, we're going to continue practicing. Okay. That's all for today. Remember that I'm going to switch to Spanish a little bit. A no ser que haya un comunicado de escuela oficial con respecto a lo del paro, la evaluación sigue programada para la próxima semana, pero es asincrónica, entonces nosotros tenemos igual clase, hay docencia, ya no se interrumpe. Si hubiera cualquier comunicado de escuela, de aquí al lunes, yo se las informo apenas sepa, ¿ya? Para decirles si es que la evaluación se pospone, o bueno, o qué pasa, ¿ya? Así que por ahora, hasta hoy, viernes 30, casi 1 de la tarde, la evaluación sigue para la próxima semana. No sé si se fijaron que puse en el icono de test, hay una prueba de audio. Traten de hacerla, solamente para ver si funciona.
Pero había que responderla. Es que yo puse como...
Está bien. Lo que pasa es que hay que escucharlo. Si lo escuchas es porque está bien, está todo bien. Si dura como 20 segundos. ¿Y qué más le iba a decir? Y subí el sample. Subí el sample para que lo vean. Recuerden que el sample claramente está hecho para las pruebas presenciales, pero el tipo de pregunta es igual. Entonces, por ejemplo, en la parte que dice elija si es correcta o incorrecta y corrige la incorrecta, en la prueba ustedes no va a ser así, pues va a ser como elija la correcta o la incorrecta, pero no van a tener que corregir la incorrecta, porque solamente hacer clic en la opción. Nada más. Es más fácil de alguna manera. Así que si pueden, traten de ver el sample. Si tienen dudas con el sample, lo vemos también. ¿Ya? Puede ser la próxima semana o, bueno, antes de la prueba, esa es la idea. ¿Ok?
Okay.
Bueno,
That's all for today. Have a lovely weekend and thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, teacher.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.